Hi, welcome to EDSC 550. This is week 4, and I'm Professor Bobo. Today, we're going to be talking about equities in school, and this will be a brief overview of most of the things that we've begun discussing in our course and just a little bit of a review. So, we're going to be talking about what can school counselors do to promote fairness, inclusion, and equal opportunities for all students. So, as we define equity, which we've already done in the course, is it's ensuring that all students have access to resources. They need to succeed to consider individual needs and backgrounds. I mean, that is the basic concept behind everybody. We want everybody to have an equal opportunity to access the educational system. So, if we have deficits of any sort or strengths of any sort, we want to be able to make sure that all students, when we offer a service through our comprehensive school counseling program, has the opportunity to access the services that we have. If someone has a deficit, perhaps they're not able to access it with general information, such as flyers or videos or chats or Instagrams. Those may hinder a person with a deficit. If a person is higher in education, they may know and understand the importance of education because they come from a background that supports education. Therefore, when you are putting out information in regards to your comprehensive school counseling program, that the students are able to access that information. So, why is it important? Equity promotes fairness, inclusivity, and addresses the diverse needs of students, ensuring equal opportunities for all. We have a variety of students coming to our public school system, and everybody comes from a different cultural background, cultural experience. And so, as school counselors, it's important for us to be culturally responsive. And our programs should promote equity for all students. So, this is the classic picture, and you've seen this many times, the difference between equality and equity. Equality is giving everybody the exact same thing and hoping that you get a response from everyone based on giving them the same tools, the same resources, the same everything, and hoping that everybody will participate in that school counseling program. Well, we know that if we have a deficit of some sort, as you can see in the picture, height is the deficit, then we're unable to access the general information that is being presented to through our school counseling program. However, when we're dealing with equity, we ensure that everyone has an opportunity to access our school counseling program. So maybe an individual will need 2 boxes, maybe an individual will need 1 box, or they won't need a box at all in order to access our specific program. So, our role as a school counselor in promoting equity is creating an inclusive environment. So, as we're setting up our school counseling program, we should foster an environment where all students feel valued and supported. So, depending on what our historically marginalized groups or our groups that have been oppressed, then those are the groups that we need to make sure that their voice is heard throughout our program. We need to advocate for student needs. And that's our marginalized or unrepresented population. For each school, that group is a different group. So it's important that you recognize what is your marginalized, underrepresented group. When we did our data templates and you did your summary of collecting data of your school and how it compares in the district and how it compares to other districts, you found out which population is underrepresented. Now, we've had minority groups. We've had our special ed population. We've had our second language learners. We have had our socioeconomically disadvantaged group. Those are our historic groups. Those are the groups that, because of different deficits, they may not be able to access or may need more advocacy through the school counselor's role. And then the third thing is that we need to support social emotional learning. And counselors, through this process, we help to build skills that are supportive, positive, interpersonal actions. And we want to teach empathy so that when we're sitting in a class and when we're sitting amongst a large group in our school setting, everyone understands and doesn't blurt out, oh, that's not true, this isn't happening, because everybody's vision is different. So, and perspective is different. So, if I come from a low socioeconomic um, household, what I see and what I have access to is not the same as my peers if I am fortunate enough to go to a private school or a school that is surrounded by more wealthier students than myself, and perhaps I'm being bussed in. So these are the things that we need to make sure that when we're at the school, even though I am the minority, being of a low socioeconomic group, that people can understand that I have a different experience and that I don't have access to all the tools and resources that they may have due to their finances. Okay, so here are ways that school counselors can support SEL in schools. We can do it through direct instruction. We need to implement SEL lessons. So, as a school counselor, it's important that you are implementing SEL lessons and guidance lessons. Second step is one of those core curriculums that's used in the tier one area. And we talked about that last week in our class. Teaching skills like self-awareness, emotional regulation, and empathy and conflict resolutions. These are the skills that we can create norms in our school by understanding, okay, this is how we behave, this is how we act, this is how we regulate our emotions, even when we're coming from different experiences. So if I'm coming in from a bad night, I didn't sleep all night because maybe I had to sleep in a car, I'm homeless, those type of things. How do I regulate? And how does everyone else help me to support my emotional regulation? Because I'm coming in at a deficit. And then we can use role playing, storytelling, and groups discussions to reinforce our concepts. The second way is small group counseling. So we go from our tier one to our tier two level. And in that small group, these are the students that, you've done the presentations and they're still having a difficult time. Maybe teasing is occurring, maybe other things are happening. And this small group is based on student needs. Okay. So maybe we need to dive more into stress management for that student who's coming from a traumatized situation. Maybe we need to have a discussion on friendship skills and managing friendships and what are safe relationships as we move into high school. And then anger management. Sometimes we come from these backgrounds and we're very traumatized. And so a lot of times we don't have a way of managing our anger. So we have to provide structured activities that promote self-regulation and emotional intelligence. We also can move up to our tier three, which is our one-on-one counseling. We do individual counseling and we offer individualized SEL support for students who are struggling with emotions, relationships, self-esteem. And we'll use techniques such as mindfulness, journaling, cognitive behavioral strategies, CBT, to be able to support these students. And these are students that won't, their problems are separate from others. So we don't want to combine them in a small group and make them feel as though they are one. Step four is to integrate SEL into the school culture. So I've shared this with you. We have we're on our second year of using capturing kids' hearts. We've trained everyone from the custodians all the way to our playground supervisors and to administration and our district office has been trained in capturing kids' hearts. And with this process, what we're doing is making sure that we have a district culture of SEL. And that curriculum that we have and that we're using helps to guide us in, promoting positive school culture and norms that everyone can see on each and every campus. Also, we can have parent and staff engagement. One of the reasons why we selected Capturing Kids' Hearts is because there is a parent and staff component. So we also need to provide workshops for our parents and for our staff. To reinforce the skills at home. We've done this as well. We've sat with our parents and said, when you hear things like this, when you see signals that are used, this is our way. One of the things that we do in that program is a foul. So we kind of touch our heart when someone says something to us that is harmful. This can happen in a staff meeting. This can happen in a district meeting. This can happen at a parent meeting. And that signal allows the person to recognize that the words that they used was not, was taken harshly by that individual. And they may call foul and say, hey, why are you saying that? Or, that's harmful or that's hurtful. We also need to train our teachers on SEL strategies that they can use and integrate into their classrooms. SEL can be used in the core curriculum. So when you're transitioning to math groups, language arts groups, writing groups, reading groups, all of this, you're setting up what does this look like? How do we treat each other? If we're not sitting at our desks and we're sharing space, what does that look like? What do our norms look like in the classroom? And where's a safe space? If someone's getting on our nerves or we're feeling overwhelmed, what can we do? Can we ask our teacher that we need a break or we need to leave the room? It could be quiet, but what if I'm feeling overwhelmed or crowded because it's too many people in the room and I need to get away, get a breath, and then come back and rejoin the class? We can share SEL tips in newsletters or social media. We're launching our new social media Instagram page for our school, so we're hoping to be able to connect with our parents through that process. We also need to create a safe and inclusive environment. Everybody needs to feel included. A lot of times, students are not feeling included within the school structure. So maybe we cater to this group or maybe we cater to that group. And so we need to, when we have a program, one of the things we launched this year was called Cardinal TV. So we do broadcast recordings and we share them with all of our students. And we've been featured on our Hawthorne cable channel. We have, and it is something that our students are really excited about. They're able to showcase their talents of being able to read, being able to have fun, act things out. And the segments are about, 10 to 15 minutes. And we're really including all students. We have our core group that creates the videos and reads the scripts, and they join, and this is our first year. But when we're doing the segments and we are taping people, as the ideas come, we're selecting students that would not normally be selected. And so we're trying to showcase all of our students throughout the year. We need to establish calm down corners or relaxing spaces for students. I used this in the previous years. I created calm down spaces in every classroom. And a calm down space in a reading corner is similar. You can have a reading corner with books and just add a basket with calming materials. So the student, one of the calming strategies is maybe to read or journal or anything. So if a student chooses to go over there and calm down, they should be using the tools, the SEL tools that are in that space as well. So that works a lot for elementary schools, but I can see it working just as effectively in middle and high school by giving an area where a student is, let's just say they didn't get enough sleep, or they're coming in upset, or they're having girlfriend problems or boyfriend problems. That area can get them over there and get them to refocus. They can write out or journal what's going on, and then begin to do mindful activities to be able to focus and get the rest of the assignment. Most of the time, students stay in a calming a calming space for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then every now and again, a student might need an additional 2 minutes. So that's 7 minutes of the class. If a class is 55 minutes or 46 minutes for middle and high school, that's still ample time for them to be able to regroup and join the class and then get their work done. Without that calming area, they're not able to focus. So they're sitting in their seat and they're not receiving the information that's being given. So that's something that we want to do. We want to promote student voice through leadership and opportunities. Some of the things that have happened in my district is we as adults want to take control. So it's very important that we don't always want to have the power to control everything. Let's give the power over to the students, and we're transitioning to this. We have students answering phones. We have students delivering things. We have students leading workshops and greeting students at the door, and just really providing them opportunities to model that instead of it being modeled by the adults. Utilizing SEL-based tools. One of the things I want to point out to you is Castle. You see that in my PowerPoint slide. Castle is the website that you go to that gives you all of these SEL resources. Not only does Castle have the resources, but it also tells you all about the curriculum, if it's doing what it says it's supposed to do, if they have enough data to indicate it's worth purchasing. So before you begin to purchase this, you'll have the tool and you can look at it, and it may be something that your district would allow you to purchase. We want to incorporate digital tools like mindful apps and online SEL activities that students can join in and that are safe. Soluna and Bright Life are the two newest. And they're different from Instagram and some of the other social medias because students can post things, but it is reviewed by someone before the post is sent out. So let's just say they're trying to connect with someone who has high anxiety and they write something. Whatever they write in order to connect with their peers who are suffering from anxiety, and they want to talk to their peers that are suffering from it, and how they may get support through their anxiety. They make sure that the post is appropriate before being sent out. And then we also want to implement check-ins. Check-ins are great to see how kids are doing. We have mood meters or daily feeling charts that are excellent in helping gauge where's the class right now. So when we teach our teachers to use these mood meters when you're coming in, or when you're coming in as a counselor to do lessons, where are they? Are they full for the day because you're coming in, or do they have room to hear what you're saying? And maybe they say, we're full. So maybe it's not the best time to do your SEL lesson. Maybe what you need to do is some mindfulness techniques. Maybe what you need to do is support them where they are at the moment before giving them more information. Some common barriers to equity in school is systemic inequities, disparities in funding, access to advanced courses and extracurricular activities. We have biases and discriminations. We talked about biases. Biases are, unconscious and conscious thoughts. And so we're going to have biases, but what we want to do is check our biases and ask, do we have the correct information for these biases? And if not, let's do our research and find out. And then, so because we don't want to um, then use those biases and towards our population or our school or our students that would promote inequities. Culture, race, gender, and socioeconomic biases can influence educational outcomes. We also want to look at mental health and trauma because this will be a barrier in schools. Some students face challenges that hinder their ability to succeed academically and socially. So we want to make sure that the students are getting what they need and that they're able to access the information and they're ready to learn. Right. So here are more strategies for promoting equity in schools. We need to have culturally responsive counseling, understanding the cultural backgrounds and unique needs of students and adapting to counseling practices accordingly. Differentiating support. Support comes in so many different ways. And so there's a varying level of support based on individual needs, academic, emotional, and social. So we want to make sure that we're providing all the different varieties for the students that we have. We need to collaborate with our teachers and families and work closely with them to ensure comprehensive support systems for all the students. And we need to create safe spaces and giving the students an opportunity to come to an adult and share information, no matter how critical it is or how sensitive it is, that they know and that you follow the guidelines, your equity guidelines. I mean, as you know, with confidentiality, we have 3 rules that we can't support that confidentiality, that if the person is going to hurt themselves, if someone is hurting them, or if they plan to hurt someone else. So those are the 3 ways in which we cannot keep confidentiality, and we need to make sure that we share that with our students so that they really are aware of that. So we need to support our underrepresented groups. We've talked about what those groups are, students of color, LGBTQ plus AI groups. We have our students with disabilities and our low income students. So we talked about implicit bias last, and you wrote your assignment and you turned it in on Sunday night. And now we want to understand what are our biases. And you took 2 assessment tests and you talked about that in your paper. And they may be unconscious. Maybe it's your background that influenced these biases. But now that you're going out and getting more information and you're becoming more wise, then you will maybe change what your thinking is and try to support all students. We need to recognize and address our biases. We have them. We're not a bad person because we have them. But what can we do to recognize them and address them? And then we need to promote self-reflection. So we need to engage in self-reflection professionally and address any of our biases. Okay, so we need to use data to make our decisions for equity. So we need to use data to identify our gaps. What are our opportunity gaps? What are our marginalized populations? So through our school data, we'll identify our achievement gaps or opportunity gaps in areas where students are not receiving equal opportunity. So each school has a group that may be underserved, and we need to make sure that we as counselors are promoting and advocating for those students. And then we need to have targeted intervention. As I shared with you in week 3, we have our multi-tiered system of support. And through that multi-tiered system of support, we have our tier 1, 2, and 3 levels of support. They are levels. Our students move through the levels, and our students are not the levels. Okay. So when they need support, they're in support for level 1, support for level 2, or support for level 3, or they may be getting all 3 levels, depending on the student. They can move fluidly through those levels. They may need more support at one point or less support, depending on the topic, the time of year, etc. And then we need to build partnerships for equity. We need to collaborate with community partners. So, our mental health agencies. So often, what's happening in my school is I need more support. My families need more support than I'm able to give them in the 6 hours that they're there. So I need to connect with a mental health agency that's able to do more diagnosing for us, because we have licensed social workers, we do, and as counselors, we can provide group, but we can't do therapy. So when we find out that the family needs support in order to help the student, or when we find out that, um, you know, the reason why the child is like this is because the parent may have other circumstances that need to be addressed. The mental health agency, the comprehensive mental health agency, that we collaborate with the community will be able to provide us with that support. We need to engage our families, creating strong connections between the school counselor and the families to support the student success. We want our families to feel welcome. We are opening up our campus. It's easy with the babies because in elementary, everybody wants to see their baby at some point. Everyone wants to be that parent volunteer at least twice or three times a year, just so their child knows that they were at the school and that they were supporting the school. So that's really exciting. And then what I notice is in middle and high school, the parents kind of drop off. I actually did the opposite with my own child. I spent the majority of my time, ninth through 12th, with him on campus at his school because we had our parent club, our booster club, and I joined the booster club for all 4 years. And that allowed me to be on the campus, but not in his way. So he had his group and he had his friends and he had his activities, but I had the parent support. And being a part of that club and raising money and funds for the school gave me purpose and gave me a reason to be there without feeling like I was hovering over him. We were just there at the same time. He completed his activities. I completed my responsibilities after, in our meetings and different activities that we had on the campus. And I was always there. So it kind of made him feel good that I was there, but I wasn't in his way. So that's something that I think you can do when you have that relationship with your children. And then we need to have ongoing professional development. Counselors should seek ongoing professional development. Throughout my career, this is my 27th year, I have gone to many, many professional learning to stay informed with best practices. So, after you take your courses, some of the information kind of gets a little cloudy because you aren't practicing those strategies or tools exactly, and you may move around in your years. And so, as you go through the different levels, from elementary to middle to high school, you'll need different tools in your tool box. And so, I encourage you when you see theories, CBT training, all those things that help your students, that you take those courses so that you are kind of refreshing yourself with those strategies. All right, so here's a case study that I want you guys to take a look at. Lincoln High School is a diverse public high school with a student population representing various racial, socioeconomic, and cultural backgrounds. However, its data it shows significant disparities in academic achievement, discipline referrals, and access to advanced AP courses among students from different demographic groups. The school counseling department has been tasked with addressing these inequities. So, what are some of the things that the school counselors could come together to do to address these disparities that are happening with their student population? So, some of the things it can do is for the academic disparities, standardized test scores reveal that students from low income families and marginalized racial groups perform significantly lower than peers. And additionally, these students are underrepresented in advanced placement and honors classes. So, how can we give them the support that they need so that they can score higher on these standardized tests. Maybe it will require us to go down into the middle school and prep them a little bit sooner. So that's something that you could collaborate with your connector schools, because sometimes by the time they get to high school, it's not enough time for them to make up the difference academically. Disparities. Blacks and Latinos receive disproportionate numbers of disciplinary action. That has a lot to do with culture, like how we are received as a group. And if people don't like us talking back or challenging or questioning, these are things that tend to get our students in trouble and sent to the disciplinary office. So we want to make sure that students are feeling like they're getting a fair chance. And so if we set up those cultural norms, like I was telling you with CK8, how do we greet each other at school? How do we talk in the classroom? What happens? Do we use the foul signal? How do we get our attention? Are we checking our friend? This is another sign that says, hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, but I'm not talking to you. I'm giving you a signal. So is that a little less evasive in your space, because a signal is better than stop or don't do that, because now I feel like you're telling me what to do. So those are ways that we can kind of help our students and create those norms on our campus so that it's very, very clear. Now we can't do this as teachers in or disciplines assemblies twice a year. Our students won't get it. This has to be reinforced on a daily basis. And it can be reinforced on a daily basis if it becomes your school culture. We also need to access our resources. Many students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds lack access to college and career readiness and resources, including SATs, ACTs, prep, internships, and counseling support. So if we start in 11th grade when it's time to turn in the applications, or when it's time, or in 12th grade when it's time to actually submit the applications, are we even ready? Do the students even know that they can't apply to this particular school because their GPA is not high enough? Maybe I only got a 2.5, but this particular school, you can't apply unless you have at least a 3.0. I don't want to find that out in my junior year or at the beginning of my senior year when I'm unable to, I finally am embracing going to college. I'm finally thinking that I can do it. And now the college that I'm interested in, I can't apply to because I don't have I can apply, but the likelihood of me being accepted is lower. So I want to be able to have success, because that's just another barrier. That's just another stopping point for me. So I'm finally embracing college, but now I can't go to the college that I always wanted because no one told me that information. And if this is my first experience, I'm a first generation um, college student from my family. Who's going to tell me? Who's going to help me? So I need my school counselor to help me. I need my school counselor to give me that information. And then our mental health barriers. Students from marginalized backgrounds report feeling disconnected from school counselors due to cultural and linguistic barriers. So we want to make sure that everybody, I'm not a Spanish speaker. I do work in a school where it's predominantly Latino and African American. So I do my best when I have second language learners or students that are new to our country. I do my best to pick up as much Spanish as I can. And every now and again, I say a sentence or two in Spanish. They see me trying to speak Spanish. It motivates them to want to try to speak English as well. So here are the interventions that the counselor can do with that case study that we talked about. The school counselor, Mr. Ramirez, takes a data-driven and student-centered approach to promoting equity. So he's going to increase access to the advanced courses, collaborate with teachers to identify students from underrepresented groups with potential for success in those AP classes. So go out and seek those kids, because sometimes they're not performing on the tests, but they're capable of doing it, And so let's find those guys and challenge them and push them in that direction. Implement outreach program to encourage and support these students through the tutoring, mentorship, and parental engagement. So kind of helping the parents saying, you may not know how to get to college, but we'll educate you on the information. And then not just educate the parents. I mean, the parents can encourage the students, but since they don't have that experience or they're not sure about it, we definitely want to have tutors and mentors, people that recently finished school. I always do a college and career for our fourth and fifth graders. And one of the things I did was instead of getting the adults, I got kids that were in their first year, second year of college and moving forward and had done certain things, or recent graduates and from college, and bringing them back and talking to them about their college experience, how it was to get through it and what they majored in. And they may not have a job yet, but at least they completed the college process. So that makes it a little bit more attainable for my young ones in fourth and fifth grade. And then we want to advocate for change in course prereqs so that it may inadvertently exclude certain student groups. So we want to make sure we get that, make sure the prereqs are there's support in those prereqs so that the students are able to navigate and have the skills that they need to be successful in those AP and honors courses. Because we don't want to give those students the classes and then watch them fail because they're not prepared for it. Also, we don't want to give them the classes and then it ends up they spend an extra 10 hours a week in order to be successful in the classes, because it's going to be hard work. They'll be able to overcome it and do well with it, but will they be able to sustain it? And that's what we want them to do, sustain it. We also want to reform the discipline practices, because we noticed that most of the students that are receiving the disciplinary action are the Latino and African American students. So we want to work with the administration to implement restorative justice practices instead of punitive disciplinary measures. Suspension works in the sense that sometimes we just need a break from the student. The staff, the teacher, everyone might just need a break. But we need to understand that it's not going to correct the behavior. Once the student returns back to the school, pretty much they're going to return back with the same sense of behavior, especially if the student went to home and played, watched videos, slept all day, whatever their choice is. It's not a punitive measure. So they just got a chance to stay at home. So we want to make sure that the student is in school, engaged, and they feel empathy for their wrongs, what they've done wrong. It's important that we instill that this is our school culture, and you have violated our school culture by doing X, Y, or Z. And we want you to not do that anymore. You broke out a fight, you scared us all, you brought a weapon to school, you tried to cause harm to someone because someone said something to you. That is very hurtful. So we want to make sure that they may take a moment so we can bring the culture back and have the students who were traumatized be able to voice them. But then when the student returns, that they understand what it felt like. But not only that, maybe the student has an opportunity to voice why they did it. Maybe they're going through a really rough time. Maybe they're lashing out. So then not only is the person who did the act, but maybe the school can now embrace that individual for the past that they're experiencing. And they can say, we didn't know you were going through that. I'm sorry, we're here for you. And then the student can feel included with all of their concerns. We need to enhance college and career readiness, create partnerships with community organizations to provide free SAT and ACT prep courses and scholarship opportunities, organize career fairs. They should start as early as fourth and fifth grade with representation from diverse professions and expose students to various career paths. I didn't focus on just the college, but I did certifications and different things because not everybody chooses college, but they can have a good career. And then develop mentorship programs where students from marginalized backgrounds are paired with college students or professionals with similar experiences. And then finally, strengthen our mental health support, which includes culturally responsive counseling practices, hiring bilingual counselors and providing materials in multiple languages, establishing student-led affinity groups to create safe spaces for discussing identity and challenges, and then providing training to staff on trauma-informed practices to better support students facing adversity. So again, just making sure that, that mental health support is there as well. So after doing all of these things with that case study, we should have enrollment of underrepresented students in AP and honor classes increased by 30%. Discipline referrals for Blacks and Latino students should be decreased by 40% due to restorative justice practices and using that as a form of disciplinary action instead of suspension. More students access college prep resources, resulting in higher FAFSA application rates and scholarship awards. And then students report feeling more supported and connected to the school counseling team. So that's what we would need to do to ensure that our comprehensive school counseling program is addressing our student population. Here's some questions to consider with that same case study. What additional strategies could school counselors use to promote equity in schools? How can school counselors collaborate with teachers, parents, and administrators to sustain these efforts? Because as we know, as new administrators come in, new staff comes in, we tend to drop these programs and they're working, but they may have some flaws or they may take up a little more time. And so the minute we're not required to do it, we drop it. So we're seeing growth, but we drop it. And then we go back to chaos again, and then we try to fix it. So it's important that we not drop the strategies, that we keep moving forward. Maybe we add more, but that we don't give up on the things that we have. And then what barriers might arise in implementing these initiatives and how can they be addressed? So these are things to consider in regards to that case study. I will see you guys week 5 and have a good weekend. Thank you.